Okay, so this time we have to do some more refining in this big kind of open plan level with some ghosts right from the get-go. So as with all the other starts, you just want to get a good pile of Ronk in. So in this level you'll have to verse all 4 bosses, one for each color type, to kind of make sure you're across all the different refining. First time encountering multiple bosses, so still upping the intensity in that direction as well. Excellent. And actually, whilst we're here, a couple spare ores we can level up. Because there's so many ghosts in this map, I expect these are going to get gummed up basically immediately. But there isn't a huge amount we can do about that. So let's just start all the way over here. Disregard the ghosts for a bit. Ideally build something like this. That should be a 2-2, not a 1-1. Beautiful. And now we've got at least a reasonably strong initial ore section that we can start passing through condensers and really bolster the overall ore growth. As you can see, the boss is spawned, but for now, just trying to keep a bit of distance from him. Ghosts are continuing to muck with our system, unfortunately. As you can see just there, once a ghost comes into contact with the boss eats them and they just get teleported elsewhere on the map. It stops all the mobs clustering, and leads to a surprising amount of the time where you'll just get cornered by something that kind of appeared out of thin air. Like, as you can see, it's a good way to make sure the player's kind of always surrounded during a boss fight. It's tough to tell whether we should be tanking. I think at this point, the boss is pretty low. We probably want to have the boss be taking damage rather than us just absorbing the ore. So yeah, honestly, 2 more volleys will get him. Perfect. Beautiful. Now that that's sorted, slap our condensers down. We'll automate this a bit once we got about another 100. Another 100 Ronk. What a travesty of a thing to get hit by. Absolute shocker. Many others that are super close by. Let's be greedy. Tragic. That's not going to work out for us. Let's go back to our slow run. Ghost is going to be a problem. Yep, so now just waiting to refine the Gentum. As you can see, we've now got some yellow ghosts that have joined the party. Continuing to make things difficult for us. So now we're basically at the cost I want. Yeah, this should get us there. Perfect. Perfect, so by swapping these out with lightning merges, we can just really increase the speed at which we shoot them through. So this should double the speed, which should, once again double the ore growth from here. As far as where to refine, we're not really using this corner at all, so this is probably about as good a spot as any. Beautiful. And now we're just waiting for that 750 to send things through the refiner. And there isn't much more we can do to automate that, other than potentially setting another one up on the other side. If we sell that, that gets us 75. This should get us pretty close, actually. We're not going for perfection, we might as well sell our buildings. Perfect, and that'll start firing. Pretty soon we should have enough for a quadrille. We can swap that out immediately. And then once this first ore comes through, let's set you up and you up. Obviously this big group of ghosts is going to be a bit of an impedance, but they should get sorted out very, very soon. Yeah, so again, this one not necessarily a tutorial level, but we've definitely like slowed the pace down. These would kind of be the initial levels from what I would consider almost like World 2. So, you know, it's not this super high impact like the 25 crystal levels from the end of the last world. Perfect, we've got a pretty good pile now. I'm thinking probably doubling these lines rather than, not you, doubling these lines rather than setting up a condenser. Although we're actually already at the point where we can afford a condenser, so slap a condenser down. Second ore line, I presume, is upside down. It is. And as you can see, we're getting close to the next breakpoint for Jintum, where the next boss is going to spawn. And whenever the boss spawns, it reawakens all of the knocked out mobs. Once again, just spiking that challenge for a little bit there. Luckily, one good thing about this boss is it sprays out so many damage orbs that it will do a pretty good number against all the, tragic, against all of the ghosts. However, if the mob hits the ghosts, then they're all just going to teleport away. It's kind of an interesting balance there of goading them into getting hit. Perfect, but we've made a good pile of Jintum just off that. Let's... in fact, let's just go straight into starting thinking about Grimald. Which, to me, I think the best strategy is gonna be something like this. Obviously the common wisdom would be to knock this boss out first, but this way the boss isn't impeding lines at all, and I can just keep growing, and that's going to start sending some blues this way. Obviously I've got to get that out of the way. So let's put you there, and it's probably about time to turn you off. And because the refiner is sending out Jintums, it'll actually help quite a bit with getting this muscle sorted. And beautiful. Excellent, so now we're on the Grimald quest, and we've already got 75. Speeding ahead now. It's probably not correct to immediately go for a 75 costed one, because now I'm stuck waiting for the next 25, but here it comes now. Backwards, classic. And you know, let's just jam in the face of that yellow line. We don't really need it anymore. Right, let's just send it up that way and hopefully it catches some strays on some ghosts. Awesome, that's still chugging along. We have the other half of that flip switch too. build out. Let me see. In fact, if we put you there. Now we've got a section going through a refiner. We're building a little bit of a death box here by making the ore circle itself like this. Now we've got some doubly refined gentum, which is looking good. And we've just got to figure out what we can clear out. And I think it's the rock at this point. At this point, we're maxed out on rock already. The only thing you need it for is for dealing with these ghosts. So you don't want to remove all of your rock. Buildings, that is. But there's not a huge problem with clearing out. Absolutely lost that train of thought, getting distracted by this wall of ghosts. So similarly, you can see the blue ghost fires these little wavy boys. A bit more challenging again, but honestly, these ones aren't as bad as I find the blue snipers by comparison. Probably just a preference thing. One thing we should do is replace this with a quad drill and probably turn you off just so we have a little bit less to deal with. As these S-bend mobs are pretty dastardly. Ooh, that's very cozy. What we really want is for the boss to be catching the blues on their way back from coming through the condenser, but I've not done a great job of setting that up. Tragic. Let's just do a slow loop then. Perfect. And now it just wants us to mine some Garium, which we already have enough for the refiner. Nowhere looks great, so I think this is about as good as anywhere else. Let's clear you out. You can see we've now got Garium ghosts as well. So this is the step where we now tell them to mine Garium. They've already at this point dabbled with all the other ore types. And they've got a couple ghosts to deal with, but it's not the most. The ghosts, you know, they're independently, they're not really much of a threat. They don't act unpredictably. It's really just a matter of if you lose sight of everything else. You know, focus a little bit too much on your buildings, that it can become a problem. So at this point, it's the first time the player is seeing the green ghosts, but at this point there should be more than enough context that you understand that you've got to mine something green for them. And in fact, let's get them out of the way so that this first Garium can come in. I think that bottom one might catch it. Nope, perfect. Excellent, there we go. And let's chuck a basic drill down here. It's around to good grief. Oh no, that is one curse of the dash, is dash does not let you go through walls, which got me stuck on that condenser. Okay, 75. Yeah, let's just pick an edge and start filling it out, I think. 110 already, so we can already start a flip switch. And let's grab a second one whilst we're here. And as this is the last round, all we've got to do is deal with a boss after this. There isn't much reason to do much else. Like, we don't need to refine another ore after this, so taking precisely these ores in, I think it's going to be entirely fine. Whilst we're here, send some blues this way, see if we can get those ghosts out of the way. Although they're going to spawn in a moment when the ghost comes back anyway, so it may not be optimal, to be honest. And while we're here, in fact, let's double these first, as this will give us twice as much, whereas putting a refiner on online would give us slightly less. And a bit of a time crunch here as that boss comes in and of course it's a real problem, but at least it'll clear out all of these Garium ghosts for me if I'm lucky, but it may eat them instead. Perfect. So we got that condenser in just in the nick of time. Let's turn this refiner off so that it stops causing us a problem. Beautiful. And then, as you can see, the Garium ghost again, the Garium boss this is, shoots the biggest of the cones. This is probably the one that would be the most, traditional bullet heli. And we've actually walked it through this line already, which has been pretty good, so this will probably clear it. So the final boss, not that big a problem, just based on those two doubles we did right at the end, made all the difference. Let's see how we did time-wise. 4 minutes off my previous time, so yeah, I think speeding up that final fight really helped.